what they're saying. The first day of testimony began at the Gwinnett County Courthouse on January 15, 2025. The first person to testify was Bradley Coleman's mother.
Good morning, Ms. Coleman. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you.
For the record, could you state your name?
Sure, it's Venetia Coleman.
And could you spell your first name for the court reporter?
Venetia. Yes, it is.
How many children do you have?
Currently, I have one child.
How many children have you had?
I've had two,
Yes, ma'am.
but I only have one now since Bradley has been taken away from us.
Do you know Bradley Lamar Coleman?
Yes, that's my son.
Where did he used to live in 2022?
In 2022, he resided in New Orleans.
Did Mr. Coleman have any children?
Yes, he did.
Could you tell us about her?
He had one daughter. Her name is Amira Giselle Guillory Coleman, and right now she's 8 years old. But when this happened, she was 5 years old.
Now I'm going to show your attention. When was that photo taken, more or less?
A few years, I believe, before he passed away.
Bradley looks kind of tall. How tall was he?
He was 6'9", but he was slender built.
Did he play sports?
Yes, he played football in high school and college.
What college?
He went to Southern University.
Let me ask you a couple of questions about Bradley's lifestyle. In July of 2022, was he visiting you here?
Yes, he was.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, he would often bring his daughter home to visit my husband and I because Bradley wasn't married, and he would always say, "Mom, you and Dad were great parents to me." And he said, right now I don't have an example for that for my daughter. So it's important for me to bring her around people that are working, that are building together, that's been together for over 40 years. He wanted this stability for his daughter, but at that time he wasn't married, but he wanted to show his daughter the same type of lifestyle that he had.
So July of 2022, he was staying with you?
Pardon me?
Was he staying with you July of 2022?
Yes, he was visiting, yes.
When he visited with you, at the time, did he own a firearm?
Yes, he did.
Let's talk about the day. July 10th, 2022. Did anything happen to Bradley on that day?
Yes, he was murdered on that day.
How'd you find out, Ms. Coleman?
We received a call from a detective. We didn't recognize the call. The call came in 3 times. I told my husband, go ahead and pick it up because it may be something important. Had no idea. It was a detective, and he wanted to meet with us in our home. And when we met with him, he told us that Bradley was involved in a shooting. And at that time, I didn't have any idea that he was going to tell us that our son was deceased. And he said, Mr. and Mrs. Coleman, I'm sorry to inform you that your son did not survive the gunshot wound.
Was Bradley a violent person?
No, he was a loving person.
How old was he when he passed?
He was 29 years old.
He was taking care of his daughter.
Yes, he was an awesome father.
Who's taking care of his daughter now?
It's her mother and my husband and I.
Thank you, Jim. Defense counsel will have some.
Mr. Lewis.
Good morning.
Sorry we have to meet under these circumstances. Obviously, your testimony was that you were aware that your son carried a firearm. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
How often, to your knowledge, would he carry a firearm?
Sometimes.
Would you say 50% of the time?
I have no idea.
Fair enough. Bradley's vehicle, was his vehicle ever returned to you?
After he passed away, the detective called us and told us we could pick it up from the Savage Yard. But we called the finance company and had them to pick it up.
So after your son was shot and killed, you never again saw his vehicle or?
Oh, I saw it. We went to the Savage Yard.
Okay.
And got his remaining things out of it, and we had the finance company to pick it up.
And that's my real question. When you retrieved all of Bradley's things out of the vehicle, at no point in time did you ever find his firearm. Is that fair to say?
That's correct.
Did law enforcement ever tell you in and around July 10th of 2022 that they had located his firearm? Up until today, has anyone in the district attorney's office or law enforcement ever informed you that they located your son's firearm?
Not to my knowledge.
Thank you very much, ma'am. No further questions.
Mr. Clare.
Yes, thank you. Allow me to express my condolences for the death of your son.
Thank you.
Your son had a gun, correct?
Pardon me?
Your son had a gun, correct?
Yes.
How long had he had that gun?
I have no idea.
And if you could,
I have no idea. I'm not sure.
fair enough. He actually lived in New Orleans, correct?
Yes.
And at the time, back on July 10th of 2022, he was visiting Gwinnett County, correct?
Correct.
How long had he been in Gwinnett County at the time he was shot?
He had came and stayed for a couple of days and brought his daughter. And then he left and went back. And I believe 1 or 2 days before he was shot, he returned back.
So you would never have asked him why it was necessary for him to carry the gun, correct?
Excuse me. He did express to me. I have to take that answer back. He did express to me that he had bought a gun, and the reason he had bought a gun for his protection. He did tell me that.
She explained to the court that her 29-year-old son, who lived in New Orleans, had specifically traveled to Georgia with his daughter to see his parents. 2 eyewitnesses to the murder also testified Wednesday.
Please tell us your name for the record.
Andrea Page Smith.
Why were you at that gas station?
So I was in that part of town because earlier that day I had gone to a nearby church, and after church I'd gone to the Trader Joe's and then to the gas station.
And what happened?
So while I was at one of the pumps on the outside row, I was getting my receipt and I heard from behind me the sound of screeching tires and a collision. And so I looked behind me to see what was going on, and I saw men struggling near a parked car. I saw one man pull another man out of the car. And it was about that time, so I was trying to figure out what was really going on, that I heard another customer or somebody else at the gas station yell out about there being a gun. So it was at that point that I hid behind my car. And while I was behind my car, I heard a gunshot go off. This is my car in the bottom right of the lower.
Maybe if you could step down, Miss Smith.
Careful.
Okay. And can you tell us is the gas pump where would that be located? Is that you getting out of the vehicle?
That's me, yes.
Did you see any weapons yourself, Miss Smith?
I did not. I just heard somebody say that they had seen a gun and heard the gunshot from behind the car leaving the gas station.
Did you see anything else on the ground?
The poor man who had been killed was lying there on the ground.
Of events was you heard the screeching tires, you heard the collision, and you heard the shot. Do I have that right?
Yes, there was time in between that, but yes.
Right. It may not have been in rapid succession, but what first drew your attention to there being any sort of drama or problem was the screeching tires. Is that right?
Yes.
Then you heard the collision. Is that right?
Yes.
Then at some point in time you heard a shot. Is that right?
Yes.
The shot occurs after the collision. Do you recall seeing the people struggling before you heard the shot?
Yes.
I got it. So it's screeching cars, you heard collision, struggle, then a shot. Is that right?
Yes.
And did you ever see the gun?
No.
Did you ever see who ultimately fired the weapon?
I did not.
Okay. Did you describe any of the potential perpetrators to the police when they arrived?
No.
Did you ever give the police any tag to the vehicle that you saw leave the scene?
No. Correct.
At some point, is it a collision that you hear first?
Yes, there's some sort of noise from that area. Yeah, like a collision that gets my attention.
You immediately direct your attention to the vehicle.
Yes.
Okay. And so, at that point, how long do you watch what transpires?
It's hard to say, but maybe 30 seconds to a minute.
And did you see anyone get into the driver's side of the vehicle that has been backing up?
No.
Do you see anyone
around the vehicle, yes. And around the vehicle, like there was somebody outside that was part of the struggle, so it wasn't just inside the car.
My specific question at this time is, do you see a struggle take place inside the vehicle?
No.
Do you ever see two people inside the vehicle?
No.
Do you know the vehicle? When I say the vehicle, I'm talking about the Dodge Charger. When you direct your attention to the Charger, do you recall the driver's side door is open?
I think it is open.
How about the passenger side door? Do you recall that?
I don't recall, but I don't think it was open. Okay.
Did you see the two people outside the car?
I saw one man pull the other guy out of the car, so they were both outside of the car.
And were they both standing at that time?
Yes,
And was one noticeable?
correct.
Did you see any other individuals involved in the situation other than the two people you saw?
I think there was a third person around the car.
Did you see that person with a gun?
No,
You cannot offer any sort of opinion as to individual characteristics of that person, can you?
no,
You don't have any idea as to the age of that individual, do you?
no.
When they were struggling, how far were they from one another?
Right next to each other.
And I'm going to walk toward you, try to duplicate that. We'll come down on the witness stand, just stand right there.
Okay.
I'm going to walk toward you in order to duplicate the distance between those two folks when it's on the struggling. Show me here. Right where you, right here. Face to there. That's right. Good, thank you. Can you have a seat back there on the witness stand? You didn't get a tag number of the car that left the scene, did you?
I did not.
You didn't offer a description of the car to the police when they arrived at the scene, did you? The car that left the scene.
Right. I think they asked me about that, and all I could say is that it was a dark colored car.
Know the make and model of the vehicle that you saw leave.
Correct.
And I believe you said whenever you heard the he's got a gun, you thought it was behind you to the right?
Yes.
Mr. Waits, thank you for being here. Where do you live?
I live in Gwinnett County.
Do you remember July 10th, 2022?
I do.
What happened on that day?
There was a shooting at the QT and Peachtree Corners.
Now, where were you? How far away were you from that shooting?
Probably 200 yards. I was across the street at the Lidl parking lot.
And can you describe what you saw?
Sure. So as I witnessed the scene, I was across the street, across Peachtree Parkway. I saw what drew my attention, the verbal altercation that I heard between the defendants and Mr. Coleman. I saw a scuffle of two individuals outside Mr. Coleman's car. I saw a shooting take place and Mr. Coleman fall in the parking lot. And then I saw the black vehicle depart the QT parking lot and move south on Peachtree Parkway.
Do you know what the make of vehicle was that departed?
It was a Mercedes.
But did it? What drew your attention to what was going on over there?
The verbal altercation in the parking lot that I heard, people shouting at each other, right under that tree, as you can see in the middle of the photo there. Pretty uncommon for Peachtree Corners. You don't hear people shouting at each other very often. So I was just loading groceries in my car, and I heard the shouts initially was what drew my attention.
Gwinnett County 911, what's the location of your emergency?
The quick trip on Peachtree Industrial. Did you already get the call about the shooting?
What is the address?
I don't know the exact address.
Okay, I'm asking because there are many quick trips in that area, and you're saying Peachtree Industrial. We weren't told Peachtree Industrial.
Okay.
Is it
right
Peachtree Parkway near the Forum?
Yeah, exactly, that one.
Okay.
Right across from the Lidl.
Did you witness it?
I did, yeah.
Okay, and where's the person that shot at someone?
They took off in a black car and went south on Peachtree Industrial.
Do you know what kind of car?
It was a black Cadillac, but I was too far away. I was I'm across the street, but I saw like a black Cadillac sedan.
Okay, and they went southbound on Peachtree Parkway?
Correct.
Okay, and did you see the person that did it, what they look like?
The black male. That was the only thing I could tell from it.
About how old? Do you know?
Early 20s, probably. Not very old.
Okay, and you didn't get a tag?
No, I was too far away. I tried.
Okay,
It was
and
one shot fired, and it looks like he hit the guy who's laying on the ground right there.
Your name?
My name's Owen.
Owen, what's your last name?
Waits, W-A-I-T-S.
Okay, and your phone number, Owen?
513-490-0002.
Okay, we've got officers and paramedics on their way. They're going to be out there soon, okay?
Yep.
Did you see anything? We have your contact information. Did you see anything happen before the shooting? Like, could you hear arguing?
Yeah, so what got my attention was voices. I'm probably 200 yards away across the street, and I heard shouting across the street at the gas station, which is abnormal. And there was two individuals, the one that was in the car now that's laying on the ground, and then another black car, the one that drove away, had pulled up. They were shouting back and forth. Like, I think they were trying to steal this person's car or something. And the guy pulled up in the one black car, and then he ran over to the driver's side door of the car that's parked in the gas station. They argued. He opened the door. The guy got out of the car, and then that's when he shot him. And then the guy that had pulled up jumped into the black car and drove away.
Okay,
I don't know if there's more than one individual in the black car that drove away or not. I didn't see if he actually got in the driver's seat or the passenger seat, but...
Okay. Well, we are on our way. We'll be out there soon, okay? And they may call you to get if they have additional questions. So just be sure to answer your phone if it should ring, okay?
Yeah, we'll do. I'll hear the sirens now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And the ambulance is there. Thanks.
That shot jump into a vehicle. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You snap a picture, and I'm assuming you snapped the picture before you call 911. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. In terms of estimating the time, and a range is fine. The time between the time you snap the picture and you call 911, is that less than a minute?
Yes.
Okay, good. On the 911 call, you called the vehicle a Cadillac. Is that right?
Yes.
As best you could tell, that's what you thought it was. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Now, when you went to the police, are you able to tell a make and model at that time?
No.
Okay.
No, not immediately, no.
So as you're talking to the police officer, do you still have sort of Cadillac in your mind?
Yes.
Okay, and even though you're manipulating the photo, try to get a better look. As best you can tell, when you first talked to the police officers that arrived, it was a Cadillac. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Black sedan, yes. But no, I did not see someone get out. He was already out of the vehicle, and my attention was drawn.
Yes, sir. Did you see somebody get out of a black sedan?
No. No.
Did you see a gun produced at some point during the course of the argument?
Yes.
And which individual produced the gun? The shooter, obviously, right?
Yes. The shooter on the left side, from my point of view.
How far would the shooter have been from the individual who was shot at the time that the gun was produced?
Less than 3 feet.
Less than 2 feet?
Less than 3 feet, probably.
And at that point again, you heard nothing whatsoever about he's got a gun, right?
Correct.
And then you heard the shot, right?
Correct.
The victim went down almost instantaneously, right?
Yes, sir.
This was well away from the Dodge Charger at the scene, right?
Right next to it.
Was the doors of the Dodge Charger open or not, if you recall?
The driver's door was open.
You recall seeing a black BMW come into contact with the Dodge Charger, right?
No.
There was let me ask you this, were you able to see the driver of the black sedan which left the scene?
No.
Is it fair to say that you are not able to offer any sort of opinion as to how many people were in the car, the black sedan, when it left the scene?
That's fair.
One of the people in the black sedan was a black male, correct?
Yes, sir.
Again, you don't know how many people altogether were in the black sedan, right?
No.
You don't know the ethnicity or race of the driver of the sedan, correct?
Correct.
You don't know the sex of the driver, correct?
No, sir.
You don't know the approximate age of the driver, correct?
No, sir.
You cannot offer any evidence whatsoever concerning individual characteristics of the driver, correct?
Correct.
Let me ask you this, the individual who got shot, prior to the shot being fired, did you ever see him on the ground?
No.
Were you able to offer any sort of opinion as to the relative height of the two individuals who were engaged in the verbal altercation?
I mean, no. I mean, roughly the same height, if you want to give me a
How
number.
tall are you, sir?
5'9".
5'9".
I just want to clarify, and I know you've already said this, but I just want to make sure that I heard. You did not see anybody get out of the car. When you looked, both individuals were already out of the car.
Yes, ma'am.
And what originally drew your attention was that you heard loud voices.
Yes.
And isn't it true you also saw them physically struggling?
Yes.
And prior to the individual being shot, did you see either of them with a gun?
No.
Did you see where the gun came from?
The shooter produced it from somewhere in their general body area.
Did they produce it from their pants, from their back, or do you recall?
I don't recall exactly where.
And was that immediately prior to the shooting?
In my view, yes.
And how long do you think that the struggle went on between these two individuals?
Maybe 20 seconds. It was pretty quick.
Okay, but do you remember testifying in a hearing back in October of 2023?
I do.
Were you sworn in at that time?
I was.
Your Honor, may I approach, please?
Certainly.
October of 2023, you said it was 1 minute to 2 minutes, correct?
That's what the record shows.
Okay. Did you say that?
I'm sure I did, yes.
In October of 2023 is certainly closer in time to 2022 than October of than January of 2025. Would that be fair?
Yes.
And the individual that pulled the gun was on your left.
Correct.
Stated?
Yes.
You can take a look at the screen.
You can see the monitor right there.
Yes, ma'am.
And could these be the vehicles that you were describing?
Yes, sir.
So the black sedan, which one would that be?
The one on the left here is the one when I mentioned black sedan in my statement.
And what about the Challenger?
That's this one behind here.
Could you step down and point on the big screen for the jury?
So, black sedan is what I identified as the challenge in my statement.
And in addition, Mr. Waits, like we said, there was a lot going on. It was an emotional time.
Yes, sir.
And are you maybe not the best identifier of car brands?
I think that's fair.
They said there was a scuffle among a group of men at the QT gas station. And then they heard a gunshot. I heard from behind me the sound of screeching tires and collision. Andrea Page Smith. I saw men struggling near a parked car. I saw one man pulled another man out of the car. Jurors watched surveillance video of the incident as Smith testified to what she heard and saw. While I was behind my car, I heard a gunshot go off, Smith said. The poor man who had been killed was lying there on the ground. A second witness, Owen Waits, called 911 after seeing the crime. I saw Mr. Coleman fall, recalled Waits, in a black vehicle. On cross-examination, Smith admits she did not see a gun or who fired it.